Welcome to the Bailiwick Podcasts. Today I'm speaking to Tom Oxenham and Joe Thorpe, who told me all about the folk music scene in Jersey. The duo released an EP last year called Collected Odds and Ends, and they're also behind a whole range of folk events in the island, from trad music sessions to Levier, which are traditional get-togethers held at Hampton Folk Museum. I'm Megan Davis, and Joe and Tom joined me for an evening of stories, music recorded live in our studio, and some history.
Rose, rose, rose red, will I ever see thee wed? I will marry at thy will, at thy will. Rose, rose, rose red, will I ever see thee wed? I will marry at thy will, at thy will. Rose, rose, rose red, will I ever see thee wed? I will marry at thy will, at thy Rose, rose, rose red, will I ever see thee wed? I will marry at thy will, at thy will. Rose, rose, rose red, will I ever see thee wed? I will marry at thy will, at thy Rose, rose, rose red, will I ever see thee wed? I will marry at thy will,
Above the shadows on this dark night.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Thanks so much, Tom and Joe, for joining me. Yeah, do you want to tell me a little bit about the song that you just played?
Yeah, the most vague of them all. I guess with lots of folk music, it's kind of a bit about the nerdiness of trying to find out about the songs. And a lot of the time, these songs are so old, they don't. It's really hard to find out much about them. So that one, on a personal level, someone showed me it when I was travelling and backpacking around Spain, which is quite nice because lots of these folk songs have a oral tradition, and you just would pick them up historically as people moved around the country and travelled. So it's quite nice to have that one shown to me. But in terms of the history of it, it's an old, I think a couple of 100 years old, and it's kind of had lots of other verses added to it, and people have interpreted it as different things, whether it's a woman enforced into marriage or actually about something completely different. But it's a really nice one to just have a play with and sing, really. So there's not much more to it than that. And so, there's lots of other verses and bits added to it. But yeah, I don't know much about the history of that one, to be fair. It's just a nice one to sing.
Yeah, fair enough. And could you just kind of introduce yourselves for people who don't know you?
Yeah, do you want to do this, or shall I?
You can each have a go.
Yeah, so I'm Joe Thorpe, and I've been singing for forever, much to everybody's disgust generally, as I sing at work all day and drive everybody insane. And Tom and I have been singing together a couple of years.
I guess that's been a couple of years now, just through the local folk scene and seeing, meeting up and seeing different people and, just playing together.
Chance nice. Meeting on the number 1 bus en route to Metropolis.
I guess, we both play in different groups and different things happening here and there, and especially with sessions and people just playing together anyway. So it was just, meeting through that really, and then seeing that we both love folk music and love singing and wanted to try and do some stuff together and write some songs and other bits. So we played together for years and do different events here and there, sometimes at Heritage or sometimes just at private events and things. But
What happened on the number one bars?
Well, yeah, I got on at Gorey, and Tom rocks up at Bailiwick with a guitar on his back, and it went downhill from there, basically.
I think I was playing a gig at Kitty's that night, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And you came in and had a little watch, and then we started hanging out more after that. Yeah.
I think that the biggest thing with both Tom and I is that we end up going down these rabbit holes. We'll find a song, and we'll maybe do some research on that song, and that'll open up a door into something else, and then we'll research that, and then at 3 o'clock in the morning we're WhatsApping, listen to this. So it drives everyone bonkers, because we both go equally weird on the strange stuff that we tend to listen to.
Yeah, it's true. I guess it's quite niche. I don't know. There's obviously the folk music revival of the 60s, and there definitely is more folk music around these days, but I guess it means different things to different people. When you say folk music, a lot of times people just think of like country music or anything that's acoustic or other things. So I guess the kind of folk music we listen to is stuff that is quite old, and I guess you could call it, instead of folk music, traditional music, which is an equally ambiguous term as what does that mean. But I think it's... I guess for me, folk music is music that is kind of more about the song than the performer. I think we chatted about this the other day, saying that actually it's great to have someone perform a song really well, but actually it's more about the song and that carrying on. And obviously there's loads of nerdiness about getting into the history, but these songs have lasted so long because they are good songs, and because the ones that weren't so good got forgotten about and passed on orally around the country in different parts. So I find that bit fascinating. But I guess there were also the kind of pop music of the day. There'd be music of the upper class and the gentry classes that was completely different, and then folk music was that music of the people. So there's that political side to it, which also interests me. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love the storytelling aspect of it, and the fact that these songs have been handed down through generation, whether it's farm workers or mums and grands, and, songs that you would have sung, sat around the meal table, or, sat around in the fireside, with people singing. And I just love the idea of those getting passed down. And as we spoke about the other day, how things evolve and change. So, the lyrics might change, the story of it may change, but the fundamental of it is still there. And as Tom said, there's quite often a political stance around what the rich people do compared to what the poor people do, and what the workers do, which can get quite interesting sometimes.
And how the songs change over time as well. Like you say, it's not. I used to think that maybe it's much better to write your own music and have these originals, and we do that too, and we like that. But actually, having a song that's really old and making it your own by changing it into something, and then someone maybe taking your version and building on it. I think I've learned definitely over the last few years how special and amazing that can be too. So working on these old songs and putting your own spin on them, really. Yeah.
You talked a lot about the kind of history and the passing down of music. So I have sort of two questions on that. One is if there's any songs or any music in particular that you think has a really interesting story. And then the other question will be if there's any Jersey specific music and what that tradition looks like in Jersey.
Blimey. Oh, that's a big question. Like in terms of amazing. I mean, I guess it's everyone has different songs that resonate with them and different lyrics. I'm trying to think of it. Do you know?
I'm just thinking, and I can't remember her name, but there's an amazing lady who writes a lot of stuff around black slavery, and it's folk music as opposed. That's it, Angeline Morris. But it's folky music rather than that kind of stuff that we're maybe listening to later on in kind of the 50s and 60s. So it's got it's really hard hitting stuff. And that really hits for me. But there's just endless amounts, I think, that have all got reason behind them, and whether that's we do a lot of shanties as well, so obviously that's all to do with sailing and working on the boats and what have you. So they all have a connotation to whatever kind of environment that they're sung in. and there's some wonderful Scottish songs about women when they're making yarn and wool, where they would sit round the table, and it's almost like a female shanty, because they would be a big group of ladies sat around a really long wooden table rolling the wool into I think they're called skeefs, I'm not sure, and so it's that methodical music, very similar to shanty, because you're doing a job. Those, I think, and they again handed down through generation after generation. I think are really special, and to keep those alive, I think, is really important.
Yeah. I always love the dark ones. It seems the
we do tend to go fairly dark.
We need to find a cheery one now. But it's, I guess those are the ones that also got handed down a lot. But it's just interesting to see what these themes are that run through, I suppose, and what. I guess there's even what got collected and what didn't get collected and that there, but there's infinite songs to find, and you can get amazing collections, or even contemporary sources. There's something called Trad Folk etc. Instagram page, and a website that shows all the kind of contemporary folk music's going on, and people researching archives in London to try and find these broadsides that were handed out in the 1800s and find out where these lyrics came from. I'm trying to think. The song I love that Sam Hall or Jack Hall song, which is about a man going to be hanged for robbing people on a highway. And again, it's a pretty dark song, but it's obviously a song that usually they were printed out for the hangings in England, and most of them were pretty rubbish, but this one was a very good song. It stuck around and people remembered it, so I find that one great.
A lot of the songs didn't have notation, did they? You had the words, but no notation, because again, things changed over time and people didn't necessarily write it down because you kind of didn't really think about it at that time. It's the music industry is a little bit different now, where everything is copyrighted. And I think what's really beautiful about the folk scene is obviously most of the stuff Tom and I sing is not copyrighted anyway, because it's so old. But even stuff that we do that is maybe more modern, there's a few bands that I love, and you literally just email them and say, I'll give you credit, but can I sing your song? And they'll come back, no, record it, send it to us. They're really happy just to share the absolute love of music, rather than you can give me 10 million quid for it. So
I think that's the other thing as well about lots of folk music is not only the history of the songs, but also the fact it's music to share and sing together, whether that's you come into a session or the Levy events, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon. It's more about getting everyone to join in than someone stood on a stage and just performing. So it's really nice to kind of share that as well.
Yeah, it's community, isn't it? It's, Jersey.
Jersey folk songs. Yeah, there has been a book published from, I can't remember the university. It's a French university in Normandy that did some research. Traditional songs of the Channel Islands. It's very. It's an academic book, but it's a great resource. And this has lots of songs collected in Jersey and Sark and other places. And in terms of more people that are interested in just hearing what those songs might have sounded like, then there's a great band called Lihu. They're based in mostly Guernsey, but some of them are floated around to other parts of the UK now.
France,
they've got a recording and they've sung a lot of these songs. Some of them, they're all great. So that's a really nice snapshot into local folk music. In terms of singing in Jerry and things, that's more your department than mine. I profess to not doing that very well at all.
It's really difficult. Jerier is meant to be a romance language, but try singing in it. It's really not very romantic at all. And I think Leo, they did a CD of these songs, and a lot of them are very kind of Breton style folk music, again very kind of methodical shanty type, very often connected with a dance as well. So obviously here we have Le Chableux, which is a Jersey dancing group, and obviously we've got a couple of Morris sides as well, but so their tunes are very much more as you would expect a dance tune to be. So their stuff tended to be more like that, didn't it? And there was, I can't remember the name of the chap, the guy that told me off because I'd changed a song. It's a great traditionalist.
It's always the die-hard traditionalists.
They came over and did a really lovely presentation for Heritage, actually, and a great talk. And we ended up in the Troubadour singing away, which was a good night. So singing traditional stuff in French and Jedier and English.
But yeah, this book is great because before this book was published, it was very hard to find out anything about local music, traditional music in the Channel Islands. And like you said, not always, the song doesn't always, sometimes a tune's added much later, so it's really hard to piece that together. So that's also interesting, how the tune might stay the same, but the lyrics might completely change, or the opposite way round. The tune's used for so many different songs that have been written. But in the UK, well, in England, it kind of, with Cecil Sharp, he started collecting in the early 1900s and going around trying to record people, or at least record them down, writing them down and trying to notate. But again, there's lots of discussions around, you know, what he was collecting and his own biases there, and if he was favouring songs of the country folk rather than the urban populations. And there's a whole academia side there to kind of delve into as well. But yeah, in terms of local songs music, that book is the defining one, really.
I mean, Geraint Jennings, who works for Heritage as a Jedier promotions officer, has boxes and boxes of stuff that needs to be catalogued. But again, you know, trying to put the tune with the right lyrics is going to be a life's work, I think.
Yeah, and obviously it gets harder to collect as time goes on, as these older people that hold on to these songs are slowly, you know, no longer with us. So it's interesting to capture these at the right moments. And I'm sure there's lots of academic research for anyone out there who's keen to dive into the local folk music research.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got lots of different influences as well. You've got some Jersey or Guernsey, but then you've got sort of UK and Brittany as well, nearby in Normandy.
Yeah, and I guess that's for me, I've probably first started with lots of the English folk music, but then when you go to different sessions, what's great is people bring tunes and songs from all over the world. You know, it might be some Swedish tune or some Irish song, or, you know, it kind of brings in lots from further afield, from places that I've never even been to, which is great. But yeah, definitely there's quite obviously a strong English and French influence being where we are.
I think that's, you know, a good point, is that generally when you think of folk music, you tend to kind of go Irish, Scottish, and a lot of fiddle playing and what have you, you know, which we do as well. But actually, some of the English stuff is amazing. It's especially kind of around Northumbria and that kind of area is some really interesting stories. Again, quite political, a lot of them.
Yeah. I'm learning more every time I learn these new tunes and the history behind them. But yeah.
You mentioned sessions. Do you want to talk me through the events that you've got going on in Jersey? Of
course, yeah, the plugging time. I'm bound to get some dates wrong or something here. I'll talk about the sessions, and if you want to talk about the Veille, then maybe. So sessions, you know, just to say what a session is, essentially a pub usually, or a space anywhere where musicians come together and we just play songs and tunes, mostly traditional, but, you know, we're kind of open for lots of other things as well, and everyone joins in. And there's different sessions for kind of what flavour you're after, really. I run I call it the slow session, so it's a really beginner friendly session, the first Tuesday of the month at the Pearson, and that's for anyone to come along. And unlike most other sessions, I post the songs we're learning, have sheet music, we play very slowly, we're very inclusive for everyone to just have a go, and it's just all about learning to play tunes together, really. There are other sessions which are great too, can be faster, which obviously can sound more kind of full on and great, but also can put people off if they're maybe not used to sessions. The other sessions that are run are, there's a session at Kitty's, I think it's the last Friday of the month, and also there's a session at Le Poulon Stacks pub there. That's roughly every second Sunday. If you follow Jersey Trad Folk on Instagram or Facebook, then I post up whenever these events are happening, so you can kind of keep tabs, because that's the general rule of when they are, but there's always something to change it. So yeah, But I'll let you talk about the very special events, which has got a more local history, local story to it as well than the Vase.
And the thing is with the sessions is you don't even have to play. You just rock up and listen. They're really relaxed and informal. And you know, for some people, as Tom said, some of them are a bit faster, so it might be a bit more intimidating. But you know, they are really welcoming, and you can just come along and you know, pluck up your courage over a number of weeks, whereas the Pearson is,
Yeah, definitely. I'd definitely say to anyone listening that's kind of plays an instrument, that's keen to even give it a go, then definitely come along to the slow session or any of the sessions really to listen or give it a go and come and check it out, really.
And the other thing that we do is La Vieille. So La Vieille is a very, very ancient Channel Islands tradition of, historically it would have been, you know, based around kind of planting and harvest and what have you, and at the end of the day you would come together round the table, have a great big bean crock, and plenty of cider, and you would just come together and you would tell stories and read poems and sing songs. It was just a really traditional evening of very simple entertainment. They kind of died down, shall we say, in the 17th century. Being politically correct, don't laugh at me. They kind of went a bit underground, and Jersey historically had a really big folk scene. It was, you know, a big folk club, and they used to get quite a lot of really famous folk singers and what have you from the UK. And then for various reasons, you know, people get older, we lose venues and what have you. It kind of died down quite considerably to almost extinction. So a couple of years ago, we thought, hang on a minute, let's get these VAs back up together. So with working with Heritage, with Jersey Heritage, we secured the beautiful Hampton Country Life Museum as a venue. I'm slightly biased because I work there. and so during the summer months, we meet once a month, normally the last Saturday of the month in the Pressoir, in the cider barn. And literally you just come together, and if you've got a poem, you've got a story, you've got a song, just rock up and do it. If you know it, people join in. It's really, really relaxed. During the winter months, we go into Hampton House round the fire and keep toasty warm in there. But it's now built a really beautiful community, been doing it a couple of years, and lots of people that used to play in the folk scene that kind of didn't fit into open mic sessions, didn't fit into the kind of pub scene. They've kind of all come back out the woodwork. So we've got some absolutely amazing musicians and some wonderful storytellers. We've got local poets, we've got local authors, and all come up and share their work. It doesn't have to be their own stuff, it can be stuff. I tend to read poems from Tim Key, who I find absolutely hilarious. Just a real mix, and just a really beautiful, welcoming environment for anyone to have a go, really. It's a bit of a feel-good factor, that one.
I was going to say, it's very welcoming, and the venue is amazing having it there, especially in winter. The fire, it's so special, which I think sets it apart from other local events like that.
I think it was December, we were all in the house round the fire, and this wonderful lady called Kate told this beautiful story. And there was about 35 of us squished into the kitchen at Hampton, and we were sat around the fire, and she was telling this story, and you could hear a pin drop in there. And I just looked at the group of people, and I thought, as adults, how often do we sit and listen to a story? You know, we might listen to an audiobook or a podcast or whatever, but actually to sit round a fireside while someone is telling a story, is just so special. The storytelling aspect of it, I think, is really beautiful, because it's, you have stories as children, and then as adults you may read those stories, but to actually sit and listen to them is pretty magic.
I'd love to find out a bit more about the sort of mix of people and the kind of people who get involved with all these nights.
They're all crazy.
Yeah. It's really eclectic. We have one wonderful young man who's away at uni. He comes when he's home. He comes and plays accordion. We've got classical violinists who play in Jersey Symphony Orchestra. Just such an amazing mix.
It's always so different every time.
We never know who's going to turn up. Got Morris dancers. Just a real eclectic mix. As I say, we never know who's going to turn up. So we never know what's going to happen, which is slightly frightening. And what's really beautiful at Hampton, especially because obviously they've got the holiday let upstairs above the cider barn. So if there's people up there, they're always invited. Last year, I mean, I don't think we've ever had a family or a group of people not come down and join us. Last year, a beautiful family that stayed quite regularly, they came down and the two children actually took part and did a poem, which was brilliant. And then last month there was a lovely French family, and they had little ones with them, and I mean, we're finished by 10, so it's not a late night, but they came down and it was the most a magical picture of this little one. I think he was about 6, wrapped up in fleecy blankets, fast asleep on the cider press while we were all playing, and he was absolutely oblivious to the whole thing. He was snuggled right up, and it was just so beautiful. And for them, that absolutely made their holiday, because it wouldn't have happened anywhere else. That their little one was wrapped up in blankets on a 19th century cider press listening to folk music. So all sorts of wonderful people, basically.
Some incredible memories for them as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell me a bit about the next song that you're going to play?
Yeah, sure thing. So this one we're going to do is a song called Dives and Lazarus, and it fits into that category of the tune has been used for so many other songs since, but from my bit of research, this is the original, I want to say, or the first one. There's a song called The Star of the County Down, which lots of people know and play at Irish sessions particularly, and that steals this tune. And I mean, it's a great song, isn't it? But this is, I don't usually go down this road, but this is a biblical story, Dives and Lazarus, for those of you that know your Bible stories. But about a rich man and a poor man, and the poor man asking for some food, and Dives rejecting him. My favourite line is something that came... There is a place reserved in hell for to sit upon a serpent's knee, and I just think that's mad. A serpent's knee.
This one is available on our EP.
True. We did record this
to download on all popular platforms.
If you just search Tom Oxenham and Joe Thorpe, what did we call collected odds and ends? That's it. Which is just some of our favourite traditional songs, which happily doesn't have any copyright. I think if it's over 100 years old or something,
if it
was composed before 1910 or something. Someone's going to tell me I'm wrong, but you don't need to. It's quite hard to get permission from the original. As with this song, no one knows who wrote it, but it's just. But this is called Dives and Lazarus. I'll just tune slightly, and like I said, we've recorded this one.
As it fell out upon one day, Dives he held a feast, and he invited all his friends, gentry of the best. So Lazarus laid him down and down, even down by Dives' door. Some meat, some drink, brother Dives, to bestow upon the poor. Thou art none of mine, brother Lazarus, lie begging at my door. No meat, no drink will I give to thee, nor bestow upon the poor. Then Lazarus laid him down and down, even down by Dives' gate. Some meat, some drink, brother Dives, for Jesus Christ's sake. Thou art none of mine, brother Lazarus, lie begging at my gate. No meat, no drink will I give to thee, not for Jesus Christ's sake. Then Dives and his merry men, whip poor Lazarus away. They They had not the power to whip one whip, but threw their whips away. So Diverus and his hungry dogs but to bite poor Lazarus away. They had not the power to bite one bite, but they licked his wounds away. As it fell out upon one day, Lazarus he sickened and died. There came two angels down from heaven, his soul there dared to guide. Rise up, brother Lazarus, and come you along with me. There is a place reserved in heaven for to sit upon an angel's knee. As it fell out upon one day, Diverus he sickened and died. There came two serpents out of hell, his soul there to guide. Rise up, brother Diverus, and come along with me. There is a place reserved in hell for to sit upon a serpent's knee.
Thank you, that was brilliant.
Thanks so much.
Slightly tangential, but could you tell me about the instruments that you've brought in today?
Brought in my most boring instrument today, the guitar. If you haven't heard of it, it's got 6 strings. But the instrument we were playing at the beginning that Joe was playing is a shruti box. I don't know if this is a symptom of folk music or just me, but I've got into collecting slightly strange instruments recently, much to my wallet's despair. But yeah, shruti box is an Indian instrument that has kind of reeds and lots of buttons that you kind of set the keys of a piano, and you get lots of nice drone notes, which is really nice to accompany singing. In India they use it for lots of kind of chanting and other things like that, but it's accidentally quite good for folk music as well. That's all we brought with us today, but when we sing and play together, I know you play the Baran, I play some concertina sometimes, banjo. I've recently bought a bouzouki that I can't play very well. Basically, jack of all trades, master of none seems to be.
And what happens is I'll put the set list together and realise he's got to bring every single instrument with him. Yes. I'm just going to tie some cymbals between his knees now. Be a one-man band.
It's lovely at session seeing, having so many different instruments all playing together. Obviously it's really great to have the chordal instruments at piano or guitar or something like that, but all these different tune melody instruments that come along, whether it's fiddles or whistles, so many other instruments, it's just lovely to hear all that together and just be inspired by these instruments I can't play. But
and I think what's really lovely is that the freedom that this kind of music brings is that if you're doing an instrumental tune, we've got a wonderful friend who plays the flute beautifully, and she will just go off, won't she, on some tangent in the middle of the tune, and it's just so beautiful, and you just literally sit there absolutely gobsmacked of how everybody, whether it's a whistle, whether it's a fiddle, whatever it might be, just puts their kind of own twist on things, and everyone just sits back and goes, yeah, that was good.
And I guess that's another thing, not just at sessions, but it's at lots of folk sessions, it's not so much about having to read music or going down a kind of maybe what people would experience at school with a very classical lean to learning any instruments. It's very much have a go and try and learn things by ear, and not so much of a formal route, which I personally have really enjoyed kind of exploring over the last few years, and just giving new instruments a go and not feeling like I have to be super proficient at it. And lots of folk songs are really simple by definition. They were meant to be catchy and just sung along to, and there's quite a lot of repetition, which is really good for kind of trying out a new instrument and learning the basic. Obviously there are amazing virtuoso folk players, so it's not that it's easy, but it can be quite simple if you want to start that way.
I think what's really lovely with Tom and I is we we both tend to go off on various tangents and add bits in here and there, and with two of us it kind of works because we can bounce off each other. When you get a group together, it then, you know, they're kind of, you're getting very harsh looks across the room as if to say, I'm not playing that bit anymore, move on. So.
That's the problem when it's too simple. It's like, well, how can we overcomplicate this? Harmonies, 20 instruments coming in, yeah. But yeah, at its heart, it's quite simplistic.
I came along to Le Poulant like a couple of months ago, I think, at this point. It was really impressive to see someone would kind of call out a song. No one thought they remembered it, and 2 minutes later, everyone was playing it.
Yes, it's like ingrained in people's memories. I haven't played that for 15 years. Let me just say, okay. And yeah, I mean, I can't do this, but it's amazing to hear people that are just such great players. They can hear a tune and just join in. And I don't know that tune, but yeah, I figured it out in 10 seconds. And yeah, I find that amazing.
I think if you generally kind of got the key and the rhythm, then most people can cobble something together by just as everyone's finishing up. Yeah, I've got it now.
Yeah. It's usually me. I've now figured it out, and everyone's stopped. But yeah, thank you so much for coming down to that session. It was lovely to have people down. There usually is a few people just having a drink, having some food, listening, and that's what's quite nice. Again, with the session, it's not a performance on the stage, it's just something that's happening. Everyone's sharing and collaborating together, and hopefully most people that aren't playing are still enjoying it, so it's nice to have that. You don't see it so much these days. I think maybe if you went to Ireland, to these rural pubs, that it would be happening everywhere, but it definitely happens less so everywhere these days.
You talked about composing your own songs. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah.
Well, we're on the spot now. If we say it, that's it.
Yeah, it's got to happen now. Well, I guess it started... well, I did look at... In fact, it was interesting having a look at that book I previously mentioned about folk songs in the Channel Islands and Jersey, because I was really interested in finding out more. And lots of the songs weren't actually specifically linked to the folklore or any of the local stories that I really got into reading. In fact, there's loads of books you could recommend about the actual Jersey folklore itself. And just thinking it would be great to actually take these stories and turn them into our own songs, really, where there seems to be a gap in these songs not existing at the moment. The stories are there, and they're amazing stories in their own right, but actually trying to turn these into some songs. I think we've got about 5, maybe 6. I want to say 5. Slowly getting there, and then we'd like to record them down, really. So our EP we put out was this that you can check out now as a bit of a proof of concept, like let's just record some traditional songs that we love before trying to record our own songs. So yeah, we're hoping to get on and record that soon and perform these. But yeah, so we've got one song we're going to play now, which is a song called 5 Spanish Ships, and that's a story. Again, it's a folklore, it's a legend, so between the truth.
Would those sand dunes be there without it? I don't know.
But it's true that there was such thing as wreckers. So wreckers would lure in ships by hanging lanterns and making it look like it was a safe passage, and ships would go that way sometimes and fall for it and get wrecked on the rocks, and people could steal the goods and the gold from these ships trying to pass through from all over the world, really, whether it happened in Jersey and whether this story is true. But in 1495, I think, if I got that right, there was a ship that was 5 Spanish ships were passing, and on Jersey at Corbière there were some wreckers that lured the ship in, and there was a man on board with his daughter, and as the ship was sinking, and he begged for help in exchange for all the gold and things on the ship. The wreckers rejected this and laughed, and as he was drowning, he kind of laid a curse on the people. And some stories it's indeterminate amount of time, but 1 year later to the exact day, in some stories this giant wave came and washed all the kind of arable farmland away, and we were left with the sand dunes on the west coast of Jersey and the sandy, not so great soil out west. I think that's the rough gist of it. I've probably really, someone will tell me I've got all wrong, but that's the song that we decided to try and turn into a song. Sorry, the story we tried to turn into a song.
It's lovely. As I say, I work for Heritage, so I use a lot of the folklore stories anyway in my role at Hampton. So to be able to now put these to tunes is wonderful. Hopefully we'll get them recorded and get them out there, because lots of people know the stories. Obviously, Black Dog and all those are really well known. There's lots of wonderful books out there. So kind of taking research from all of those different aspects of the story, because once again, any folklore story, just like a folk song, you've got lots of twists and turns in it, and lots of different versions as to why people were doing what they were doing and what happened when and how. So
yeah, true. There's a whole level of...
Basically, you can make anything you like up.
As I was a-walking one evening in May, there were lanterns on the headlands, burning bright and did sway. A shadow of ships in the darkest of storms, those flickering lamps lured those ships to the shore. And I saw 5 Spanish ships go down that night, smashed against rocks, not one survived. Wreckers and thieves, they took delight, but a curse was born that night.
Oh, crew in the water, thrashing and wild, a father and daughter, his only child. He screamed and begged for help from the locals ashore. They laughed and refused him, his plea they ignored.
And I saw 5 Spanish ships go down that night, smashed against rocks, not one survived. Wreckers and thieves, they took delight, but a curse was born that night. A year to the day those ships did go down, those who lured, thieved and plundered and left all to drown. Remember the last words the father did cry, I curse you, I'll take my revenge, you will die. The silence was heavy, the air it hung still. The storm, it was sudden, drove the sea up the hills. It devoured the wreckers and tore through the land. All remains were buried by dunes of sand. And I saw 5 Spanish ships go down that night, smashed against rocks, not one survived. Wreckers and thieves, they took delight, but a curse was born that night.
5 Spanish ships go down that night,
smashed against rocks,
not one survives.
wreckers and thieves, they took delight,
But a curse was born that night.
Wow, that was awesome. Do you want to just plug anything else you want to mention, and where people can go if they want to find out more, if they have some more questions?
Did I not plug anything? Let me think.
Yeah.
There's the Jersey Trad Folk is where I kind of post about all the sessions and just share anything else. And in fact, if anything else of anything folky, be that music, arts, dance, whatever that they want promoted, then please send it my way, because I don't just push my own stuff. But yeah, it would be great to put out some other events on there as well, and for yourself.
Yeah, the next at Hampton is the 29th, I think it is, of June, the last Saturday, 7 o'clock. We do sort of do a ticket thing via Eventbrite. It is free to attend, although, donations in the bucket are very much appreciated. We always make a basket of Merville, of Jersey Wonder. You're more than welcome to that. But yeah, if you look at Jersey Trad Folk on Facebook, then everything's kind of plugged on there, isn't it? That's
and like I said, first Tuesday of the month at the Pearson, every second Sunday it stacks at the Pull-On, and the afternoons into evening usually, it's usually the last Friday of the month at Kitty's. That's run by Tash, and that's another great session there. So there's actually loads happening, all these small groups of people doing lots of things, but they're quite frequent events, and they're all lovely in their own special way, so it's definitely worth coming out to. And obviously we've got our EP recorded and on Spotify or wherever you listen to streaming platforms. If you just search Tom Oxenham and Joe Thorpe there. Trying to think if I've forgotten anything else really, but come along to one of the sessions or levees or anything else. And
even if you just want to come along and listen and suss it out,
That's about as much as I can manage.
I know people
there's
soon
always
start
the
tapping the foot.
Thank you so much for coming along.
You're welcome.
This was amazing. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you so much for having us, and thanks for promoting some of the more underground folky bits that's happening, because again, a lot of the time people kind of always say, I don't know if it's a Jersey thing, but like, I never knew that was happening, I'd love to come along, and it might just be the over kind of saturation of social media and people not even knowing what's happening anymore. But it's lovely to be able to chat on this and hopefully get out to new audiences and get people keen and involved who might not have been before.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.